I suppose for our last topic then, I think what we've discussed in the first two tie in quite nicely. So how can you position your business for better success? So I think some of the things we were discussing before this were things like how you can collect reviews to, I suppose that adds into what we were just discussing around credibility and so on, and potentially visibility, because obviously if you're coming up on review sites, then you're more likely to be seen by people. But yeah, I suppose from the work you've been doing with people, how can you position your business better? I think it all ties into some of the stuff you said around ultimately profit margins and understanding. Do you start with pricing? If you understand your profit margin, you then know what you need to build into your fee, and then you can position that better.
So I think you've got two things to look at. One is your business has got to be viable. Otherwise it's not a business; it's a hobby. And I get that totally. I'm a small business. I work part-time. Sometimes I'm busier than others. Sometimes the way that life throws you curveballs, you have to take a step back and not earn as much. But you're looking at generally, we look at the family pot, me and my husband, and, we're not just working for myself. It's very much about me. But I look at the family pot, and that affords me the flexibility. And a lot of surveyors want that flexibility in their lives. They want to be able to see their kids and different things. So the first thing is to start with your family pot. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, but just share what I do. So your family pot. And then it's looking at, what you're able to do realistically. And there's loads of things I would love to do. There are loads of things that people ask me to do or expect me to do. But I do what I feel like doing. I do what I'm capable of doing at that time with resources and things that I've got. But your business has got to be viable, and you've got to know what your ingoings and outgoings are, and you've got to be alive to, am I wasting money somewhere? And a really good place to start, if people haven't come across it, is a book or a method called Profit First. And what it does is it teaches you that, we say your income comes in, then you've got your expenses, and then you've got your profit at the end. And what it does is say, no, your income comes in, you take out a slice of profit, and then what you've got left is what you've got left to run your business. And it's a bit like when you have a tube of toothpaste and you get to the end and it's empty, and yet you can still squeeze out something. It's about cutting your cloth and being sensible about it. So your business has got to be viable. You've got to manage your cash flow, be alive to what's in and what's out, have the tools to support you on that. So good business accounts that help you do that. So, for example, Starling is a great one because you can manage pots and you can actually pay invoices and things through it. So having the tools to do it. But you've got to have that, what I call BAU, business as usual. This is what I need to run my business. These are my targets. I need to do 3 surveys a week, for example. This is how many days holiday I'll have. This is how many adverts a week on Facebook or whatever I'm doing. What does that look like? Have it on a good day or a good week. What does that look like? Because that will get you to getting that income that you need for the year, which means you can pay your mortgage as a minimum. The other part of it is defining what success means to you. And that is different for everybody.
Completely.
For some people it is, I want to make $1 million and have loads of surveyors across the country, and I want that recognition and etc. And there's no right or wrong. It's not judgment, but it's understanding what motivates you. And if money, security, and those things motivate you, then you'll come up with a plan on how to get there. And behind that, there'll be a strategy of, well, how do I get more surveyors? How do I get more work? I'll go on panels, I'll get referrals, I'll do this, I'll do that. And you'll have a plan around that. For other people, it's not that they're not motivated by money. It is just that it's not as important to them. And you don't have to have, a big family pot, for want of a better description, to be that motivated. for me, I'm very motivated by the injustice of some of the things that I see. That through the work that I've done over the years, the way that surveyors are treated, and I wish people would treat surveyors better, but I also wish they'd pull their finger out and be visible and be better and all those things too. But it's what success looks like for you, and for me, success means being able to flex my work over the past couple of years. My son's had some health issues, and I've got young kids. We could do the school run, all of those things. Being able to flex that while still being able to do the things that bring me joy, and be able to experiment and do different stuff. So that's what success looks like for me. And some days I feel like I'm there, and some days I feel like I'm not there, because we then get into that comparisonitis, and the judgment, and what do other people think. And we've got to get over ourselves, because actually nobody really cares. They're just jealous, or they've got their own issues going on. And it's hard to say it doesn't matter, because it does hurt.
Yeah. I was just saying, sorry to jump in there. I was going to say, it also often people won't even be thinking about what you're worrying about in terms of the judgment aspect. You might be thinking that certain people might be thinking certain things, and actually they're not at all. They're busy doing what they're doing.
And it's easy to say that. It's really easy to say that. It's like with your kids, saying, well, they'll be friends with somebody else, or you'll get other friends. But I think coming back to concentrating on what success looks like and how you're going to get there in terms of the values, what's important to you, the way that you work. Some people will take referrals, some won't at all. It's being really grounded in that means that you can then come up with a plan to get to where you want to be, and to feel successful.
Definitely. In terms of the viability part, because obviously I completely agree, business has to be viable, otherwise you're going to end up having to shut down and move on. Where do you start with that in terms of, I know we've discussed the fees aspect and people sometimes entering the race to the bottom, and sometimes not considering the profit aspect. How should people go about reviewing, I suppose, their pricing and understanding how that profit aspect works? In terms of how much profit margin do you need to build in to allow for marketing or the travel time? Do people break down their fee enough? Do they understand the time they're putting into it, or do they focus on, I spend an hour on the property, I price it based on that, rather than actually I spent 2 hours in the property, 2 hours driving, 3 hours writing up and doing research? Where should people start with that?
So you start with a big piece of paper and a pen, or a spreadsheet. You start wherever you like, but you often start with a reality check of how am I spending my time. And what people tend to do is they'll say, well, I can fit in 5 surveys a week. I'll do one every day, and I'll finish the reports at night, or or whatever. They'll start to break it down. Whereas you start off with, over the year, it's reasonable to have 5 weeks holiday, and then we got bank holidays, and then I want to be there to pick up my kids, and you break it down to a reasonable amount of to understanding the kind of the amount of time you've got to do this job. And then we see that, like for me, when I, first did this exercise, it was part-time. And I was thinking, how on earth can I do anything part-time? That's just not going to work. And sometimes I work part-time, sometimes I work full-time, sometimes I take time off. You flex it. Particularly if you've got family or caring responsibilities, because guess what? Everybody has school holidays, for goodness sake. And I actually shape my mastermind around that now. I do sort of 3 cycles I have 3 quarters rather than 4 over the year, because people need time off. So you start by sort of breaking all of those things down. And then it's, including things like, travel time. How long does it take for me to write up a report? I might want lunch. I'm not having lunch, maybe I need to put 15 minutes, half an hour in for lunch. I'm really sort of breaking all of those things down. You realise that you're squeezing a lot of things into a day when perhaps that's a bit much. So it's then looking at, what can I achieve in that time? With the time that I've got, what can I achieve and maximising that? And you'll then start to see that, doing the cheap, not profitable, high risk work is not serving you. But it starts off with, I guess, sort of, a reality check, doing an audit of your time. Bear in mind we waste a lot of time. If reports are taking you hours and hours to write up, it's usually because you're using the wrong software or the wrong, method to do it. You're doing it at the wrong time of day, because if you're doing it at the end of the day, you're tired, mostly. Loads of surveyors I know are dyslexic, so they might not be having the right support around them. So it's doing an audit about recognising that you are probably inefficient in lots of ways. And so the first thing is then, well, how can I get more efficient? And people think, well, I need to buy software. I need to invest in different technology. And sometimes it could be just, well, if you write the reports in the morning and then go out, you'll do it a lot quicker. And for some of us, if we've got a time limit, well, I need to leave at 10:30, you're more likely to give something a good go than drifting in and out when you've got one eye on EastEnders or whatever it is, or putting the kids to bed while you're typing a report. So there are things that you can start to change and be honest with yourself. And so there's lots of things you can do before you even get to pricing, and looking at your competitors and what they're doing.
I think that's a very good point, though, because when you've gone through that not justification process, but analysis, you can then justify the fee in your head better. And so you're going to be more confident charging a given fee rather than feeling like you've plucked it out the air or you've based it just purely on what someone else has put. But I suppose it also stops you chasing your tail. So if you are charging the wrong level and you need to do more jobs to get the income you need, you're going to start packing more into the week, which then ties into what you said about taking too much on the potential risks and claims and stuff that could come with that. But I think it also means that you end up costing yourself time and being more inefficient. So because you then start to rush emails, you don't actually quite fully respond or read through the email properly. So then you end up getting another reply and having to respond to it again. So you start creating a duplication of work by being inefficient because of the pressure it adds on, I think. So I think that's quite an important process to go through. One of the other things we touched on when we discussed before this was reviews as well for positioning yourself better. And I see this as a sort of discussion point a lot online as to, some firms having hundreds of reviews. Some have been around for ages, but only have like 5. Is it something that's quite important to do as a business, or can you get away with ignoring it? I suppose what's the benefit to collecting reviews as a business?
So I come back to this visibility plus credibility equals opportunity. And what you're doing with reviews, or what you're trying to do, is provide social proof that you are as good, or you're worth it. Evidence that, come back to this customer wants a pat on the head for doing the right thing. It's social proof that someone else agrees with that. You can chase online reviews if you want, but we're a very cynical bunch here in the UK. We all know about TripAdvisor's not quite real, or all the other ones out there. And from my experience in dealing with complaints and claims, I got qualified in customer experience. There's a profession or industry full of jargon, if ever there was one. The online reviews are great. Do you need to have loads of them? No, not really. You just need to have some that are recent. What you should have is a mix of different places where that social proof is reinforced. So, a word of mouth referral, somebody who's prepared to do an online review, a case study of something, a blog or something on your website, an endorsement by somebody else. If you're saying that, you're a local business, all about the community, that they do see you active doing something in the community, not just sponsoring a kids football club, but actually getting involved. So it's that holistic approach to social proof that, as a business, this is what you do, these are the values that you stand for, and it all aligns. Because, we see it with lots of different brands and things out there where, some firms will say, yeah, we do a lot of mental health, and yeah, we really look after our clients and or our employees, and we send them a bunch of basket of fruit and all of those things. And yet we hear the stories behind that is not what it's like. It's a wash of, this is what we do, but this is not what it's really like. And consumers are absolutely alive to that. So reviews are really important. They give you feedback, and you can use them, but it's that holistic approach to social proof. One thing I would say on reviews, most of these, Google, I think, is the most honest one, in that it's not manipulated behind. Someone puts a review on, that's it. If they weren't your client or whatever, you can address it, and it's a pain to get it taken down. But a lot of these other ones with ratings will have an algorithm, a manipulation of something in the background. Some will only post or come up with a score if you've got the top score and the worst score, and you don't seem to have any in the middle. There's usually something behind it, and so you've got to treat it as, well, this is helpful information, rather than they really are offering a 5-star, 10-star, whatever service. But the thing about reviews that I think a lot of people miss, and certainly surveyors do, is that it's not just about the good feedback or the bad feedback. It's actually reading and listening to what people say. And those who give you great feedback, you go back to them and say, thank you for that. What more could we do? What would have made this even better for you? Because they're your biggest champions. You've just wowed them. And they might say, well, if you'd have phoned at 3:00 on a Tuesday, that would have really helped me, or if I could have found this, and they want you to do well. Customers who buy from you just want you to do well, and they want to go on that journey with you and share that success. They're not out to get you. They're not all out to sue you. That's a culture that, for lots of reasons, we've created. And so when you get this feedback, make sure you're asking the right questions, and that you really use it, because it's those small things that then make a difference. And you've just, the fact that you've taken their comments on board and made improvements, and then tell them that you've done that, that's the best free advertising and recommendation you could ever get.
Yeah, that's a really nice point, actually, around not just accepting the 5-star review, but understanding what else you could have done to make it even better for next time, because you can continually improve on any job. So that's a really nice point. I think my final question on this topic, and probably for the episode then, would be, and this has popped into my head as we've been talking, when you're going through the planning part, I suppose, in terms of looking at your time and how it breaks down, do enough people plan in, from your experience, time to spend on their business, reviewing it, and on their sales and marketing process? Because in terms of positioning your business for sort of better success, a lot of, I think, what comes out of success is consistency. And do people plan in that time to be consistent, do you think? Or is it often, I think we touched on this earlier, like a knee-jerk reaction to, oh, it's got quiet, I need to suddenly spend money on Facebook ads? Or do you find people are generally quite good at that planning and consistency part?
I think everybody's got something to learn on it. I can't say whether people could be better. I don't see surveyors working on their businesses a lot. They're all busy doing their surveys. They're surveyors first, business owners second. Work is coming in, so they don't need to work on their business. And yes, there's things that you can do to make sure you've got a business when the market dips or work gets quiet. But there's also, looking at the risk aspect of it and protecting your business. But it all comes down to the planning. And this is the work that I do with clients, and certainly on the mastermind, is when you break things down as to, you have a task and you break it down into small, the small things that you need to do, the execution becomes a hell of a lot easier, and you can do things a lot quicker because you've done the thinking. And there's nothing worse, you might find a surveyor has a quiet day and they say, right, I'm going to do some social media posts. And they'll sit there and have no idea what to write. They'll, waste the time, and then they'll just get frustrated. So it's in the planning where the magic happens, but you've got to make time to plan. As a general rule, you want to be, and everyone's different, depends what support you've got, but as a general rule, you've got a 5-day week, you want 3 days fee earning or going out doing surveys, 1 day on your business and 1 day in your business. So 1 day out there attracting work and another day doing the stuff in-house that not just doing the admin, but setting things up, protecting your business in terms of risk. That will ebb and flow over the course of a year. It depends what support you've got, as I said. But, it's separating it out and dedicating that time. And I said 3 days fee earning. Everything that you do 5 days a week is earning a fee. But surveyors always say is, well, I'm fee earning when I go out and do a survey. When I'm sat at home working out what to do on social media, that's not fee earning. But it is. It's earning in your business. So it's a real reframe of how you approach your business. So, but spending the time periodically to break down, okay, what things do I need to work on? I want to review my website. I want to set up a proper complaints procedure and handling, process. Different things that you want to be doing in the business that you never get time to do. Breaking it down means that you have the tasks. So I want to change bank account. Well, I need to go and research the bank accounts. I need to speak to accountants. Can accountants help me more in this financial advisor, director capacity than just doing the returns? It's thinking about who I need to ask, what phone calls I need to make, who I need to email. Do I just need to go online researching? You break it down to a list of things and you put a little bit of time, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, and you've got a list of things that you could be doing when the work gets quiet, or when you're in the headspace, say, right, on Friday, I am going to decide which bank account, and here are all the things that I need to do. And so you never start with a blank page. So whatever it is you do, that's how I work. That's how I encourage people to work. And it sounds like it's quite regimented and quite strict. It's not. You need to have a rhythm and routine in your business. Consistency creates certainty and confidence for you and for your clients. But you consistently working on your business, no matter how small some of these things are, will pay off dividends in the long run.
Yeah, completely. It's a very interesting point, that reframing. I think I agree with you. It's very easy to see something that's having a direct impact on turnover as a fee earning thing, and everything else is fluffy waste of time around it that's taking away from potentially more fee earning, because actually ultimately that's all helping to build up your your fee structures, how you want to put yourself out as a business, the pipeline that you're generating. It all feeds in, and so the fee earning is only driven by the 2 days that you're spending on planning, prep,
and ultimately it's smarter, because you can spend money on ads, sponsorship, lots of different things, whereas if you consistently shared posts on Google and talk, because you can post on it like social media, if you shared posts on there, talked about you being a surveyor in this location and what you do, you're going to be halfway there, and you don't need to be at the top of the search. You just need to be where your clients are, you're not. And so you it's about attracting who you want to work with, and then not competing with some of the big people, the big guys, and the low fees, because they're not your client either. You don't want somebody who's not going to pay you properly or pay you enough. You want people who are going to pay you enough. And so there's a lot that you can do by consistently, and you can use tech, schedule these things and get help with various stuff. But there's so much that you can do that actually in the long run, it's cheaper. Or when you do make an investment, it's the right kind of investment with the right kind of company. It's not desperate, buy me some leads or, help me with this. It's much more considered. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's a very interesting topics I think we've covered today. Thank you for coming on. If anyone wants to get in touch with you around any of the things we've discussed or anything else, how do people get in touch with you?
You can mostly find me on LinkedIn, on social media, pop over to the Facebook group, the Surveyor Hub, or just visit lovesurveying.com.
Thanks again for coming on, and hopefully we'll have another catch up in another episode in a few months' time.
Yeah, will do. Thank you very much.